We are in the finish line now, and for the last chapter, we are going to look at some miscellaneous scenarios, early gambits and the likes. So let's kick off the party with the so-called center game or center gambit. They are called actually both. It occurs after e4, e5, and pawn d4, and it usually means that after ed4, the white queen needs to enter the party way sooner than it should. Not a very popular opening for a good reason. Now, in this first example, black chooses to opt for f5, which is a very weird and rather unsound counter gambit. The problem with this move is that after ef5, the queen h5 check threat means that e5 needs to be abandoned too. Instead, black opted to take on d4, but now queen h5 check is absolutely deadly and essentially game ending. Be mindful of this, that when there is a possibility for either side really to give a check down on this diagonal, and there is a pawn here that covers the pawn block via g6, that is always a disaster. And usually the way it goes is that after g6 pawn takes, black tries to be cute by attacking this queen, thinking that now it has to go, and then black would be able to retake once, for example, the queen went back to f3 for argument's sake, and now it's not that bad. The problem, however, is that just because the piece is under attack, it doesn't mean it has to go at all. We have got the lovely g7 discovered check, and we lose one queen, but we get another one instead. And now black is a rook and a pawn down. No pawn, just a rook. Because we promoted the g-pawn, but it's good enough a reason for black to suspend further resistance and resign the game. So that was our first one, and I have another center gambit example for you. Pawn f6. I have already spoken about this move earlier on in the course. It looks awful because it is awful, weakening, blocking the development, just the ultimate bad move. de, fe, and now again we are good to go for the check, because this check actually attacks the e5 pawn as well. g6, queen e5, the queen takes the rook, and the game is over just like in the previous scenario.